Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. Still yet to be named morning recap show. We're going to break down a lot of games around the NBA. Well, 6 to be exact, with a lot of excitement, a lot of things to look at. We got Ja Morant versus Stephen Curry. You've got the Wizards looking really good against the Atlanta Hawks. We need to talk about that one. A new rivalry, or a renewed rivalry, between the Bulls and the Knicks. Some exciting games. And maybe a little bit of news to break down as well. Trey Young, we've got some thoughts for you. Keith Smith joining me. Keith, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. It was a good day of basketball last night. With some really fun games, as you mentioned, and really good stuff. And I like these days when I can get up, uh, put on a game on the DVR that I didn't get to focus on last night. You can get through a game really quickly on the DVR if you fast forward through all the stoppages and free throws and things like that. So it's always a fun day when I can do that. With the Celtics having a couple days off in a row, I'm able to get in there and have a little bit of fun with it.
Keith, speaking of free throws, and this is foreshadowing to a topic we're going to get into in a bit, but free throws, small sample size, currently down by about 2 attempts per game across the NBA. So that's good work there. Hey, I've got a few people. Aniket Mohan saying, tuning in from India. Welcome in from India. I always love seeing our international viewers come in here and join us. So chat, if you guys are going to throw some questions and comments at us, we'll address some of them as we go through some of the games. But
Dennis Carr's having a morning beer. So cheers through the phone, he says. So hey, man,
happy Friday.
Just be responsible.
That's right.
Oh yeah, it's Friday. Friday, right?
That's right.
And Little Dex, I appreciate this comment very much. This is growing to be my favorite show on YouTube.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're hoping to make this continue to make this a regular thing where you can get up, get your morning going, and talk some basketball with us. Let's kick things off with the Philadelphia 76ers and the Detroit Pistons. You've got a team that should be kind of middle of the pack to good in the 76ers until we find out what happens with that guy, Ben Simmons, to a team that is bad and intended to be bad, but particularly without Cade Cunningham right now in the Pistons, who are 0-4. The 76ers take it 110-102. Not a lot of surprises in this one, Keith. I mean, Joel Embiid did Joel Embiid things. 18 boards, 30 points. You kind of a pedestrian outing last time around. So good to see him kind of bounce back there. But 16, 6, and 6 for Tyrese Maxey on 6 of 8 shooting, filling in pretty nicely at point guard right now for Ben Simmons. Seth Curry did his thing, didn't blow up like he did a few games ago, but 12 points, 5 boards. Can't expect that on night-to-night basis. Tobias Harris, 6 boards, 17 points. This is just, if I told you the 76ers are playing the Pistons, this is exactly what you would expect from the box score.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Embiid shoot a little bit better from the field, but he got to the free throw line 15 times.
Yes.
He went in, I call it the monster mode, where he's basically like, you're not going to guard me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the basket. The only way you're going to stop me is to foul me. And he did that, and that's how we put together a bunch of points. I really... Tyrese Maxey's starting to take baby steps as a playmaker and a passer, which is really good to see. He's primarily been a scorer to this point. And they got Shake Milton back, and I think he helps them quite a bit because that bench is a little shaky, especially with ball handling off the bench. So I think Shake Milton coming back is big. And then minor Simmons update. He's was at shoot around, did a bunch of shooting, they said. He's been with the team the last few days, so maybe we're starting to get closer to a return or a resolution there. You mentioned the Pistons without Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
This morning on Twitter, I called their offense gross because it is. I don't want to watch this team right now. That's bad to say when it's not even November yet, but it's bad. Killian Hayes, he's got miles to go before he's ready to really contribute to anything positive. He just missing so much of last year has made this like his second rookie season. Philly did a good job of really keying on Jeremy Grant and staying pressed up on him. Sadiq Bey had a nice game in his return to the Philly area. He's a Villanova guy. So yeah, I mean, just a good team beat a bad team, and that's the only downside, I guess, for Philly was they let the Pistons rally and make this game closer than it probably should have been. It looked like Philly was on their way to a blowout win, and they didn't get there.
Yeah, and you know what? I do want to mention Danny Green, 0 for 5, all 5 being threes, 0 points, 2 steals, 2 blocks in 30 minutes. So he almost recorded no counting stats in 30 minutes. He just picked up a couple of steals, couple of blocks, and that was about it. The pretty much the only former Laker to not have a good night last night. We'll be talking about a few of the other ones in
Yeah,
just a bit here.
I'm good to go to them if you want to, because I don't really have anything more to say on Philly Detroit.
Yeah, I think that's about it. So
Okay.
let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. Washington, game where back to back for them with travel, back to back for the Hawks with travel as well. But Washington also being cautious with Spencer Dinwiddie
Mhm.
right now as he returns from the knee injury. He did not play, and Daniel Gafford out after he got hurt against Celtics. Kind of thought, all right, this might be one where Washington's in some trouble, and instead they kind of controlled
Yeah.
it from the early moments and ran away to a win. Bradley Beal led the way with 27, 8, and 8, but then your former Lakers, three of them in the starting lineup, the rust package, all started for Washington and all scored 21 or more points. So Harold 25, 13, and 5.
Yep.
Kuzma 21 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, and Caldwell Pope 21 points and 8 rebounds, and they all shot really well. Also, the only other standout from Washington, Aaron Holiday, starting to do some
Uh
stuff.
huh.
He looked good against Boston. Got the start here. 7 points, 4 assists. Played pretty good defense at times on Trey Young. So just something to keep an eye on. He's starting to do some stuff.
What I was thinking coming into this game was, okay, Gafford is out, Trez at center. Oh my gosh. I mean, the Hawks they're just gonna run 1-5 pick and roll, and they're gonna get Trez onto Trey Young, and it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really, really bad for the Wizards. And Washington did a great job of mitigating that. You had other guys chipping in and doing everything they could to stop the Hawks from exploiting that. Now, I will say I think the Hawks didn't press on that enough. They should have been going to it a little bit more often. But the Wizards also did a really good job of just being very switchy defensively. You saw Kyle Kuzma was flying all over the place, who's actually pretty big and fairly long. And so he did a really nice job on the perimeter. Their perimeter defense in general did a nice job stopping the point of attack, knowing that you didn't have the rim protection there to stop people. Now, there were times where the Hawks still got the ball to Clint Capella, and he just scored because Trez is 6'7", and that's
Collins, too.
Yes.
Collins had a monster.
Collins as well, where they were able to do that. But overall, I thought Washington did enough to where the Hawks weren't able to just bludgeon them to death right at the rim and kill this thing. So the Wizards, I thought, really, really looked good on both ends of the floor, and it was an impressive win considering who they're missing right now.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, you can't or you shouldn't lose games where you shoot 54.5%.
Right.
Like that just shouldn't happen. They were awful from three. They were only 6 for 21 from three. So they did all of their damage basically inside of the arc. And Trey Young had 13 assists, which was really good, but he was the only one who really had the ball moving and popping. I don't want to go too crazy with the Hawks because I think we could really dissect them quite a bit early on, but just not a good night for them. All around defensively, they were not great on the boards. I think the Wizards got 14 offensive rebounds and got after it that way. So it was just kind of messy for the Hawks. Let's get into the Trey Young comments after. Spoke about how frustrated he is on the points of emphasis on the foul baiting. Basically said he thinks that there are some real fouls, and I think he's probably right. I think right now the officials are leaning very heavily into, if you exaggerate it, we're not just giving it to you, which I think is leading them to miss some calls. But you got to figure out a way to play through it. Now, he quite astutely pointed out it's James Harden felt like it was just him, which was his comments the other night. But Trey Young was like, it's not just James Harden, it's me, it's Damian Lillard, it's Devin Booker, who are all four of those guys are struggling some, and all four guys who make a living getting to the free throw line. So, but you got to play through it. You got to figure it out. And then it'll even out some of these things where these little bumps that are not getting called. Some of them that probably should be will eventually start getting called as long as we don't go back to the, every 2 trips is some guy doing a rip through move and getting to the free throw line, I think it'll all be fine. But yeah, to his point, Hawks only took 14 total free throws in this game. That's a very, very low number.
Yeah, Trey Young's free throw attempts are down by about 4 per game right now compared to last season. And all I can say is, Trey, you might be frustrated, but this is for the greater good. The NBA has been so much more enjoyable to watch with these new rules in place. It has been a breath of fresh air. I love it. It's looked a lot more like the Olympic officiating that we were all exposed to this last offseason. And it made the NBA, frankly, look silly when you watch that stuff and you see NBA players trying things that really should not work. It was embarrassing to the NBA. I think it went that far where when you saw guys who are jumping sideways, who are adjusting their shot motion in a way that no one would ever actually shoot the ball like that, you look ridiculous doing it, and the NBA looked ridiculous giving them those calls. So I think this is an important move in terms of restoring respectability of the NBA around the world, in terms of, we're not just going to gift you free throws. You're going to have to actually earn points. You're going to have to actually score the basketball, and not have the success or failure of a play be determined by whether or not you fool the referee into blowing the whistle. So I think this is a important step forward. And if a few calls are missed because of it, so be it. I think it is well worth it. And the NBA game has been so much more enjoyable this season. So Trey Young, I don't know what to say. Deal with it. This is for the greater good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a couple people in the chat, Andy Wong says, as an NBA fan in general, games seem to have a better flow. Could not agree with him more. We're not, there's not a pause and a stop for, every, other trip down the floor. Yeah. Shout out to our guy, Jeremy at 1 a.m. in Australia is watching. And Jimmy Ramon's doing it the right way. NBA talk, coffee, and a donut.
Yeah, nice.
That's a pretty good morning for me, man. I would enjoy that myself. So, but yeah, it's been, good, good change for the NBA to re-emphasize there. So I'm happy to see that. Trevor, I got a shout out. I'm in long sleeves today because it was finally cool enough in the morning during drop off could go with long sleeves. So I had to go with the Sonics today. I had to rep my my Sonics love there. So come back.
Yes, please do.
Want you back. Yeah.
All right. Should we jump to the Knicks and the Bulls? A rivalry renewed here. I had a lot of people talking about that. Like, hey, how long has it been since the Knicks and the Bulls have actually been pretty good at basketball and played each other? It's been a long time, but they sure had a fun one last night.
It's been a while.
Yes. They had a fun one. Julius Randle might not agree, who shot 3 for 11, but the Knicks got a win, so I think he's probably okay with it. The Knicks do win 104-103. You know what? Yeah.
On Randle, it was good to see. I was critical of him earlier in the week where he wasn't shooting well, but he just kind of kept forcing the issue. In this one, the Bulls were clearly not going to let Julius Randle beat them, and he shifted into playmaker mode. He had 9 assists. He really did a good job getting the ball moving quite a bit. Even when he wasn't getting the assists, he was making sure he had the kind of the ball popping around. I don't know. I didn't check the numbers, but he might add a couple of those hockey assists in there. Kemba Walker played really well in this one, 21 points. There's a note in Zach Lowe's column this morning that Walker and Rose, the primary point guards, and maybe Emmanuel Quickley's added in there too. I don't know, but they already have more pull-up jump shots made than the entirety of last year's starting backcourt of Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock.
No.
So that's
5 games?
Yes.
That's a real thing.
5 games. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're like 14 for something, and it was something like Bullock and Payton combined for like 7, or something like that. Wow. So I mean, we know that's Kemba's game, but yes, that is pretty glaring.
That's unbelievable.
There, I thought RJ Barrett played really well. This game overall, if you didn't watch the NBA in the 90s, this is as close to what a 90s NBA game looked and felt like. It was very slow paced. Very physical. Teams were really playing really hard physical defense, but good defense. There wasn't a ton of fouling in this game. I think they only combined, 42 total free throws, which is not a lot. Both teams shot at average or so. Only, and this is very much amusing, only 61 total 3-point attempts too. So that's, kind of a little different look there for
Uh-huh.
the NBA, where pretty regularly teams are taking 3-pointers up in the 40s per game. So yeah, it was kind of a more old school. We had some straight post up plays for Vooch on the Bull side, for Randall on the Knicks side. So yeah, all around this was a very enjoyable game because it was. I like when games are different from what we regularly see,
Yes.
and this game was just played very differently from what we see. And that's not to say I don't enjoy the game now, because I like the more free flowing and the shooting and all that stuff. But it was just fun to have a different kind of game.
I've seen that complaint from fans a lot in the last year or so, that NBA offenses used to be so diverse. You know, you would have a team that, okay, we're going to be the Twin Towers team. That's going to be our approach. Another team that said, okay, we're going to go a little bit smaller. You'd have all these different kinds of offenses. All right, this team's going to run the triangle. This team's going to do this, right? And now you've got a lot of teams all, okay, high pick and roll, collapse the defense, shoot a three. High pick and roll, collapse the defense, shoot a three, right? Just over and over and over and over again. And that kind of offensive diversity has been kind of removed in recent years. And look, the game is more open. There's more points being scored. The skill level of the players, I think, has never been higher, right? So I don't want to complain too much or anything, but fans have just noticed that you're seeing the same stuff across the league on the offensive end of the floor. So this game was a bit of a throwback. And it's also kind of refreshing just to see a different tactic, to see a different path forward, that not everybody's saying, okay, shoot a ton of threes, and that's how we're going to win a basketball game, that there's alternative paths.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's like we always say in the playoffs, we like when two teams are very different. Styles make
Yeah.
fights, and these are two teams that I think are a little more similar, but it was just a different style of game, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one. On the Bulls side, I thought I thought Zach LaVine was okay. I thought he forced some shots later in the game. DeMar DeRozan had a little bit of a rough go of it. RJ Barrett quickly moving up the ranks, the guys who can really lock into someone
Mm-hmm.
defensively and really get into a guy and make life hard on him. He did a good job against DeRozan. Patrick Williams, he's just undersized against a guy like Randall. That's going to be where you might run into a little bit of trouble there. And then Lonzo, this was one of those games where large stretches, which I know you know this well,
Mm-hmm.
he was just kind of out
Yeah.
there, like wasn't really having an impact on the game. And when you're playing a good team, you can't get away with that. You need to have somebody. Vooch did, really kind of was the guy that probably could and should have played through more. I thought on the Bulls side, Taj Gibson though, man, that dude still battles 6 points, 6 rebounds,
Yep.
3 blocks in 19 minutes off the bench behind Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson rolled an ankle and he blew out a sneaker at one point in this game. So that's just that's not good there.
No.
But yeah, just all around, it was an enjoyable game.
Mitchell Robinson can't catch a break. And the other thing I want to highlight is, you know what? Alex Caruso. There were some clips of him playing defense going around online last night, and it felt so good to see him finally get the recognition. I felt like,
Yeah,
in part maybe because he was a Laker, and in part because of the memes and things like that, a lot of people were discrediting him last season, saying, oh, he's not actually that good. Just look at the box score. And we were saying all season long, he's not a box score guy. He's a guy that will make a difference in terms of plus minus. He'll make a difference on the defensive end of the floor, but a lot of what he's great at doesn't show up in the box score. So it was very cool to see highlights of his defensive play, particularly at the end on Kemba Walker, going around where people were finally recognizing, hey, this guy is a really good positional defender and does make a difference in games.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's yeah, he can get after it. It is funny. I think the there's two things with Caruso. I've seen some people ask, not necessarily with the Bulls, but just in general, is this guy a starter? And I don't know that his game lends to
Yeah.
that, because I think you would rather have his energy off your bench, kind of coming in, changing things there, and really getting you going with that. And then offensively, hey, he needs to stay within himself.
Yes.
He had a couple bad pulls late in this game that weren't great, and that was that's a little concerning. I don't know. I don't want to go crazy on Lonzo because he's had a couple good shooting years in a row, and this was a rough night. But I just worry Lonzo Ball and Caruso together on the floor, like the Bulls were playing a lot down the
It's not
stretch,
enough offense.
because they really went, they went 4 smalls around Vooch, Yeah, I don't know that that's enough shooting and spacing
Yep.
there. You're making things harder on Levine in those situations. So,
True.
all right, that's I don't have anything else on this
All
one.
right. Well, let's
I
move.
really don't have much
I
on
was going to
this
say,
one.
let's move to one that there's not a lot to say on. The Jazz beat the Rockets 122-91. I mean, and Keith, before we came on air here, I just said, look, this is a Jazz team that is very good at picking apart any kind of mistakes that you make on the defensive end of the floor. And this is a Rockets team that will make a lot of mistakes on the defensive end of the floor. And this is what you get, 122-91. The Jazz with what I want to call just a professional win. They came out here, they took care of business, they exploited the Rockets where they should have, and they walked away with a pretty easy W.
Yeah, Jazz are maybe the best regular season team in the league. Rockets are one of the worst, and they destroyed them. And the Rockets 3-pointers weren't going down. They were only 9 for 44 from behind the arc. Your guy Jalen Green, really rough night. 3 out of 16,
Yeah.
0 for 8
Ouch.
from 3. Yeah, that's tough. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to put it all on him because nobody played well for the Rockets in this game. I want to say, yeah, Eric Gordon in his 23 minutes was the only guy on the positive side in plus minus. Single game plus minus can be weird, but that kind of does tell the story there. Yeah, Jazz. I mean, we don't have to spend a bunch of time on it because they did what they should do. They went in, hammered a bad team. None of the starters played more than 28 minutes. You get out of there. That's stealing valuable in-game rest for your main guys, and then off you go with a victory.
Is Christian Wood a Rocket after the trade deadline?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so, because I think he's young enough to still fit with their guys. I think what you have to start doing is you got to start playing him with Schengen more to see what does that look like.
Yeah.
Well, what's your
can
long
it work?
term?
Yeah.
Can they be your 4-5 pairing? Because if they're not, then you probably start looking at, all right, what do we do to get a more modern, versatile 5-man in there?
And Schengen did have a pretty nice night. 14 points, 5 boards, 3 steals. It was still a negative in plus minus, but you're right. I think you do need to start playing around with that pairing and see if it works. The Indiana Pacers right now being a cautionary tale. What happens when you put two bigs together for too long that simply don't really work together? We'll see what they can do if they combine Wood and Schengen. All right, let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks and the Spurs. Close one here. The Mavs do win 104-99. I didn't get to see much of this one, but Keith, I know you got to see quite a bit of, particularly the fourth quarter here. To me, looking at this thing from afar, it's another game where Luka had to kind of carry the Mavs, though he did get Dorian Finney-Smith chipping in with 14, Klebo with 12, 19 from Jalen Brunson. Big game for him. I wish I had started him in fantasy. I did not. Whoops.
Yeah, he led the comeback. They got down, I think it was 18-3. Dallas did. Dallas only had 3 points midway through the first quarter in this game. And then I kind of watched them catch up. And then I was got into doing other stuff, a lot of stuff with the puppies driving us crazy right now. But so then I sat back down and really locked in for the fourth quarter. And yeah, it was Luka and Brunson kind of carried the day for the Mavericks. They got some good defensive plays out of Finney-Smith. They started Bullock and Hardaway together, but they didn't do much offensively. So that was a little bit of a struggle there. And then Frank Ntilikina came in and helped also change the game with some good defense off the bench for Dallas. I wonder if Jason Kidd's starting to figure out. He'd been playing Josh Green, the second-year player, quite a few minutes, and I wonder if he's starting to look, all right, we're going to go a different direction here and maybe use some different guys. On the Spurs side, they went back to kind of that 4 small stuff that had worked quite a bit. Lonnie Walker got the start alongside Murray and White in the backcourt. DeJounte Murray, just another really good game, 23 points, almost 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Yeah, Derek White did a good job. And Jakob Poeltl, man, that guy's defense can really change games. He had another strong game, multiple contests inside, did some stuff against Luka as a driver where he clearly made him uncomfortable and changed some shots. But this went, I think, down the stretch kind of the way you expect. Luka's clearly by far and away the best player on the floor for either team. And he just kind of did enough for a Dallas team that should win over a Spurs team that's going to be feisty. They're going to be in every game. They're going to fight, but they're probably just not going to win a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? When you're looking at this game, and you see, you mentioned Jakob Poeltl, 36 minutes on this one. 36. I mean, a lot of bigs in the NBA aren't playing 36 minutes a night. They're playing 20, 25 tops, right? Your traditional bigs that aren't your star level players aren't being left on the floor that much. So the Spurs clearly have a lot of trust in him to play against a lot of different lineups right now. And let's.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm replying. Mike Wolf in the chat says my teacher got me in trouble for watching you guys. So one Mike, as two guys with an education background, pay attention in class.
That's right.
Well, you can always catch the show later in the day. But I'm also going to tell tell her it's a Friday, so we said it's cool.
Yes, everything's fine because it's Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet your teachers are.
And this is educational too. So this definitely counts. It's tell her it's statistics. We're going over stats. We're going over numbers. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, narratives, storytelling.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Journalism.
Yep.
There.
We can connect.
All right, let's get to the last one because I know I got to shoot out of here to do radio in about 5-ish minutes or so. Warriors Grizzlies, really fun game. Went into overtime. Steph kind of did Steph stuff at points. Didn't shoot it great, but then got enough going there. You're kind of killing me, Jordan Poole.
I know.
Come on, man.
What is happening?
I loved you preseason. This was one of my Twitter comments. Got to get more out of Wiggins. Taylor's oldest time with that one. Just didn't do enough. So yeah, they're just so Steph centric right now with Poole not doing what we had hoped and thought he might, that it's difficult at times for the Warriors to generate a lot of stuff. John Morant, though, that's the real story out of this one.
He's a star.
Absolute superstar.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is just great. He took over when he needed to, made a bunch of plays. Desmond Bane, 5 3-pointers. Jaren Jackson continues to struggle from the field, shooting it, but he's hanging in there. I think Memphis has the best collection of glue guys and role players, maybe in the entire NBA, but they're one guy away from being really interesting as a contender. They just need one more.
Is that guy Dylan Brooks?
No,
not a higher cut, but he helps.
Them. Yeah, he's going to help them with their scoring for sure. D'Anthony Melton's been starting all year, and he's just been kind of fine. Yeah. I thought his best stuff in this one was actually defensively.
Yes. Yep.
I think he had 4 steals and 3 blocks for Melton. So that's, good to see him show up in that way. But yeah, you need Dylan Brooks as kind of that, like, I got this confidence of, get out of the way. I'm going to take over at times, especially on nights when you're struggling. I mean, this was an overtime game between two teams who have scored a lot of points this year, and it was only 104-101. So that gives you a sense of they just were not shooting it well. And the Warriors, we talked about this with them. They can be really loose with the ball. They had 22 turnovers, and that's, you can sometimes get away with that if you're, making all your shots. So it's just, fun game though, back and forth. And I like this Grizzlies team. I probably underrated them again. 3rd year in a row, I think I've been too low on Memphis. I'm starting to wonder if this is the year they make that step into the top 6 versus being in the play.
They might very well, especially with the way John Morant is playing. I've had a hard time finding a comp for him. I keep going back to Steve Francis, trying to figure out, because he's so explosive at the rim. He's an impressive talent. He's very, very good. And
I like that Steve Francis call.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Shaky outside shot too.
Yeah.
Always consistent with the jumper.
But
yeah, that's a good one.
But I think he's got a bit more upside there overall compared to what Steve Francis was. But anyway.
I think with John Morant, sorry.
Go ahead.
One last thing on him. I think we may see his jumper doesn't look broken.
No.
So I think we may see him do kind of one of those Jason Kidd deals where when he gets a little deeper into his career, maybe he settles down a little bit. The jumper starts to come along a little bit more. But right now, give me all the John Morant in attack mode with a head of steam going to the basket that I can get.
Absolutely.
Because it's great.
100%. 100%. And we've got Boothman from YouTube said, Trevor, are you worried about Lakers versus Cavs tonight? Think they start to get it together. We'll see if LeBron plays, but I am very, very cautiously optimistic about this one. It's going to be an interesting matchup. So Definitely check it out and make sure you come join us for
Goofy Cavs lineups.
It
man.
is.
They're fun. They're better than people think.
They are.
I think.
It's
C Nasty. Yeah, should I buy in on this Devontae Graham streak of 20+ when they play the Kings backcourt tonight? Maybe. Let's see if
who's Dave Van Mitchell defend. That's what's going to decide it.
In on him.
Right.
Yeah. Pelicans offense is not very good, so they need Graham to do stuff. That could be one where Graham gets you a bunch of points because he takes a whole lot of shots.
Yes.
It may not be overly efficient, but he gets a lot of shots. Yeah, my last thing, we're down to one unbeaten team left, the Utah Jazz.
Yep.
And we're down to one team that doesn't have a win, the Detroit Pistons. So things are really jammed together as they tend to be early in the season. With that, I know we're gonna come back next week and record a kind of early overreactions show.
Yep.
Where we'll get a little crazy to stuff and kind of start to decide what's real and what isn't, and we'll have a little bit of fun with that one.
That's right. All right. Well, it was a fun night in the NBA, and we've got a busy one tonight. Hopefully, you guys all enjoy a Friday night of NBA action. I'll be going live over on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel right after Lakers versus Cavs, and hopefully, it is a more enjoyable show than our last one after that loss to the Thunder. So, come join us over there for that, and everybody else, fans of all other teams, enjoy what should be a busy night in the NBA. Till next time, everybody, stay safe